Hey everybody, we got another Level 099 video for you today. This one is about the job system and the Linux command line. So if you're a beginner, you definitely want to learn Linux and you definitely want to learn the command line. And as you are moving around that command line and doing things in a non-graphical environment, you are definitely going to want to use the job system. This is basically multitasking without concurrent connections on your command line. And it's very versatile. There's a lot of different ways you can use it. Let's talk about jobs and processes on the command line and some hotkeys and some commands that we can use to manage them very effectively. This is kind of like giving you a job control system similar to a graphical interface on the command line, with a little bit more work. So you might not be familiar, and you might be familiar with the signals that you can send when you're operating with the command line. So for example, if we run a command that it's running, so we are no longer able to interact with our command line, we're waiting for this command to finish, then we're kind of stuck. What do you do if you run a command and now you have no control? And the answer is you can send signals to it. And the most obvious signal everybody is familiar with is probably Control-C. And that's just a termination signal. Kill whatever you're doing. And we can sort of take a look at that. Let's use the sleep command. Now the sleep command simply waits. It's usually used for scripting. It means wait a certain amount of time before you go on to the next instruction. But if we just run it from the command line, it puts it to sleep. So our command line is now sleeping. You can see I can't interact with it. It doesn't matter what I do because it's sleeping. But to escape this, Control-C, and I've killed it. And that's super useful. You're probably going to learn that pretty quickly working with the Linux command line. But to take this a step further, there's another great signal, which is a suspend signal. And there's a whole job structure that goes with that. So let's take a look at that. Let's sleep again. But this time, instead of killing this process, let's Control-Z instead and send it a suspend command. Now, you see what happened there is that sleep 100 is now stopped. And this 1 next to it is its job number. At any time, we can run the jobs command and see what jobs we have running. So if I wanted to return to my sleep job, then I can use the FG command, foreground. I can bring that job back into the foreground. And I pass it the index in order to do that. So FG1, and my sleep command is back in the foreground. I can no longer do anything because the sleep command is taken over. And to get back control, I'm either going to have to kill it or suspend it again. So let's kill it. The sleep command is obviously pretty useless to us. Let's look at a real world example that I use this for constantly, maybe daily, at least work days. So let's say that we have an imaginary PHP file. And we open it up and we're getting ready. We're saying to ourselves, all right, I'm ready. And I'm going to build a quick little PHP application to connect to an SQL database. But you know what? I don't remember the details of my SQL database. I created that yesterday. Man, I'm going to have to go and look that up. And that means closing out this file. And it's going to be a pain. I'm going to have to actually load the database to make sure that the credentials are correct. But you know what? Instead of doing that, let's suspend it. Again, Control-Z. Now we have our Vim running. Or actually it's not running, it is stopped. But it is backgrounded. It is a process that we can return to. So now we can go over to our SQL. Hey, and here we are. Okay, let's go in here and we'll just look at some stuff. We'll confirm whatever it is we need to confirm to get back to our script. And okay, we've got it once again. suspend. Now let's go back to our jobs command, because now we have 2 jobs running. And the beauty of this is, am I going to have to go back to that database again, maybe run some queries, maybe get some information to go into my programming? Yeah, I probably am, but it's still running. So I can foreground, and again, I'm passing it the index that is listed over here on the left, the job number, and here I am back in my script. I can go ahead and pass it these values that I don't know if this is the correct order of arguments for MySQL Connect, but you would put that in there, and then you can drop back out, foreground 2, jump right back into SQL, do whatever you need to do, get your information, and you can hop back and forth between things using the jobs command. Very, very, very convenient. One thing about both of the examples we've used here, if we look at our jobs, both Vim and MySQL are apps that are interactive. When we're not interacting with them, they're not doing anything. So it doesn't make any sense to let them run in the background. They're waiting for our input. But that's not always going to be the case. So let's take a look at a command that's going to keep giving us output, even when we're not interacting with it. And ping is a pretty basic one. Let's just ping google.com. As you can see, this will just keep going on. It'll keep pinging google.com. And it's going to keep printing to the screen as well. Now, if I suspend this with Control-Z, as you can see, it says stopped. If we look at our jobs, that job is stopped. So in the act of suspending it with Control-Z, we have stopped it. But it doesn't have to remain stopped. It can actually keep running, but in the background. And much like the FG command, we have the BG command, which is background. So let's background ping google.com and see what happens. Well, that's interesting. It seems to be doing exactly the same thing that it did before, but not quite. You see, the difference here is that I have my terminal back. That is literally running in the background. It's printing out to the standard output, but it's running in the background, and I can still run commands. It's tough to read because it's, constantly has ping garbage running up in it, but I can do whatever I want here. I can run normal commands, and you can see instead of stopped, it's running. So when we run the jobs command, we can see what that job is doing. Okay, so once again, foreground, suspend, and so now I have a stopped ping google.com. And the only reason I suspended it rather than do this while it's running is so you can see the command, because it's so hard to see when the churn is happening on the screen there. So instead of foregrounding it and dealing it with it this way, I could have foregrounded it and send it the Control-C to kill it, but I can also introduce the kill command. Now you might be thinking, hey, I've used the kill command before, but I was killing processes. Now you're killing jobs. Yes, kill can kill both processes and jobs. In the case of jobs, what we want to do is we want to put the % in front of our job number to let it know that we're killing a job instead of a process. So if we kill %3, we will kill that Google ping. And if we run jobs again, you will see that that job has been terminated. It will only report this the first time you run jobs after you do that. And after the times after that, it's just gone. So you can have things that are constantly creating output, and you can control whether or not they're still running and whether or not they're still printing things to your screen with these job control commands, which are really nice. You might have also noticed, let's see if we can scroll up here, that when this was backgrounded, when it was running in the background, the command changed a little bit. It put the ampersand at the end of it there. And that is actually something you can do to launch a command directly into the background. So let's do the same command again, but let's put the ampersand at the end of it. So what we're telling it here is run the ping program on google.com, but immediately background it. And we're going to start to get the same output, but much like when we ran the BG command, we still have control of the terminal. So we can run the jobs command and we can see what's going on there. And we can also kill %3 and put a stop to it. Under normal circumstances, your jobs end when they have reached their logical conclusion. They have finished whatever they need to do. They've output everything they need to output, or you've sent them the terminate command, either through kill or Control-C or whatever. You've somehow killed this process. But what if you're in a situation where you have a job that you want to continue, but you no longer want it to be your job? Well, you can disown it. What a beautiful thing, right? So let's just run back through all these commands. And once again, let's run the ping command, and we will send its output to dev null so we don't have to see it. And we will start this in the background by adding the ampersand. So there it is. It's our job. And if we look at the process list, we see that 31650 is the ping process that our job is running. But let's go ahead and disown job number 1. Now we look at our jobs. We don't have any jobs. Did we terminate it? Well, no. In fact, we did not terminate it because disowning it does not terminate it. 31650 is alive and well and still ruthlessly pinging google.com in the background, and will continue to do so until the end of this terminal session. Because at the end of the terminal session, you are going to lose that ping command. Now there is a way to deal with that as well. It has to do with the no hup, no hang up system in Linux. But I think we might be going a little too far for level 099 by getting into that. Right now, the important part is that you understand the job system and you see how that it will let you multitask on the command line without having multiple connections and on a pure text command line interface. So now that you understand bash jobs, you should be able to be a lot more efficient with your multitasking when it comes to the command line, and should save you a lot of time. It is really one of the best tools for productivity, I think, if you use the command line a lot. Now keep in mind, if there are topics like this that you would like to hear us talk about, things that maybe are beneath what you think the level of our normal videos are, that's what we want to try to do with the series. Please let us know in the comments what you would like to see.